Eskom says it expects to continue with stage 6 rolling blackouts for the rest of the week. It also says that this is due to the failure of additional generating units and the delay of several units to return to service. Some ANC MPs have said Ramokgopa has no budget, a department, performance plan, and therefore no oversight committee. However, he says the initiatives on how to end rolling blackouts are already in place. They should just find the best way of implementing them. So perhaps to unpack this and more, we're going to be joined via Zoom by CEO of Momint and Energy Solutions Company. All right. So we're going to continue this discussion. I just want to take a look at the sentiments that had been echoed by the Electricity Minister, Kgosientsho Ramokgopa. Perhaps we can start with the task at hand and the plan. Are you convinced that it's enough to instill trust for investors and the country at large, given the dynamics that are unfolding in the country at this point?
Yeah, absolutely not. And I think one of the things that we have to realize is that there's this week been two major developments that the South African populace needs to know about. The first is that there's been an interim order handed by the Pretoria High Court that needs to be accepted within the next 60 days that states that the Minister of Public Enterprises must take all reasonable steps to ensure that there's sufficient supply and generation of electricity for our crucial services like schools, hospitals, police stations, etc. The second one, which is actually related, and many people haven't linked them together yet, is that Sasria has announced and joined private insurance firms to state that in the event of a grid collapse, there will not be payouts. There will be no coverage for claims that stem from an electric grid failure. And that's probably due to a linkage that they see in potential civil unrest that could occur in the event of a grid collapse. So I think, you know, these initiatives really haven't given the South African population nor foreign investors any sort of confidence that these issues will be resolved and that they're going to be resolved within a timeous fashion, and especially that they're going to be resolved without corruption, theft, or any of those events happening, which is why we're seeing such a strong interest, particularly from the international investment market in solutions such as suncash.co.za, where everything is blockchain backed. So there's a transparent ledger that ensures there can be no corruption in place.
Yeah, Arhen, thank you for those sentiments. I just want to formally introduce you, Arhen Posthumas. We were just struggling a little technically there, but I believe just on the back of what you'd echoed, when we look at the mandate then of the Minister of Electricity, how is this going to complement the other ministries that are also set to be part of solving the problem? How do we also manage the tensions or supposed tensions amongst them? We saw the Auditor General coming out to say that one of the ministers failed to resolve the energy crisis. Is this a blame game of sorts as well?
Yeah. I think the government is to a large degree playing a blame game at this stage, and I think anyone in that situation might be doing a similar thing. But the important factor here is that it's not about the Minister of Electricity, it's not about Gordon, and it's clear at this stage, I mean, even the fact that we're having this conversation makes it clear, not a matter of opinion, that there has been a massive failure, and we now need to address this crisis. So spending time trying to poke holes in the past failure won't help South Africans keep the lights on tomorrow. And I think that's the important thing that we need to focus on here. In line with what the president said at his previous State of the Nation address, I'm anticipating the president's announcement to reinforce that private companies and citizens need to step up and take over the role of the generation capacity that Eskom is currently failing to deliver on, so that Eskom can focus on storage and transmission of electricity instead.
Speaking of solutions at large, as we enter winter, perhaps also beyond, what are we going to be looking at this point, given the short-term needs?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't think there's any immediate good news or any tangible solution that could, save us very quickly and easily. I think what the people of South Africa need to do is realize that it really is in our hands. And even if the government is going to put forward a proposal, it's ultimately the taxpayer who foots that bill at the end of the day anyways. So what we really need to do now is not continue talking about, I mean, you said it yourself, the government still needs to figure out the best way to implement some of the solutions that they propose. But in the meantime, there are companies, private companies that have solutions already implemented and rolling out. The Suncash initiative has rolled out on 5 different locations solar that's been completely crowdfunded. And it's not just South Africans taking up the call to assist here. We've got investors and buyers from Germany, from the UK, from Nigeria, in fact. And the reason why they're all taking part in this as well is because investing in solar can be fairly profitable, right? So what we should not do is allow only large corporates to monopolize the income of these solar projects, but rather to crowdfund them and give access, democratized access to individuals and citizens to solving this problem and also benefiting from the income thereof. But I think the biggest thing right now is stopping a complete failure of the grid, because this is going to grind our economy to a halt, and it's something that we genuinely cannot afford to happen.
Arhen, I hear you loud and clear. I mean, the question also begs how accessible some of these solutions you've proposed or that are on the table are for the ordinary South African at large. I'm asking this because, I mean, with a lack of energy and electricity, I mean, naturally the issues of security and safety also come to the fore amongst affordability and theft. Walk us through how we also mitigate against some of those challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why, again, I think it's so important to focus on the projects that go towards our communities first and foremost, and community centers. So the reason why I'm saying this is because, yes, some people, especially a population of privileged elite in South Africa, can afford to put solar on their own rooftops, and therefore they have that resilience. But really what they're only doing is solving the problem for themselves.
Yes.
If we focus on hospitals, schools, police stations, community centers that have the biggest impact, and those are the only projects that Suncash.co.za focuses on, just by the way. We need to crowdfund those installations. So then the issues that you talk about in terms of accessibility and affordability, well, you can invest in a solar cell for as little as 85 Rand. So I know that is still a certain price barrier, but that's most certainly a much lower price barrier than installing solar on your own rooftop. It's very, very easy to do. There's literally just a website. You go to suncash.co.za and you can check out and purchase one. And the most important thing is that every little bit of money, the legal contract, everything that's involved in this project is put on a transparent ledger. That's the most important part here, so that we can ensure transparency in the payouts to investors, ensure that there's transparency into what's being built, how much electricity is being generated, and proof that we really are solving a core problem that the nation is facing right now. And by the way, there's multiple projects like this that I encourage people to go and look out for.
Arhen, let's see what the President and the Electricity Minister has to say. Imminent announcements just on the back of handling the electricity crisis that we're facing ahead of winter, the spikes, the constraints that come with that, and perhaps also easing pressure on the grids. Thank you for your time here on the SABC.